Arborea. Arborea is a forest located in the western portion of Jamura, with its claim to fame being its many carnivorous plants and that, long ago, it once housed the palace of the vampire known as Shaku the Endbringer. Shaku's grip on the region came to an end when Jedito Janin and his allies defeated the vampire and destroyed her castle. More recently, Arborea has spawned a Maro sorcerer, a living embodiment of nature, in preparation for the new Phyrexian invasion. Blessed Sleep. On the world of Innistrad, death is rarely the end of one's story, whether it be seeking vengeance on the living, unfinished business, or out of a desire to protect a loved one. The dead of this plane often linger as geists. The angels of Avacyn's church take up the task of ushering these spirits not into some afterlife, but to dissolve into the aether, where their essence joins with that of the very world. This is the blessed sleep, an end to the suffering so common on Innistrad. Cauldron of Eternity. Many wondrous artifacts dot the landscape of Eldraine, with perhaps the most mysterious being the Cauldron of Eternity. Initially stored in the castle of Lochthwain, this cauldron, which is said to revive the dead or even grant eternal youth, had disappeared one day, with many knights making it their quest to retrieve it. Notably, during Garrick's stay on Eldraine, this cauldron had appeared and proved to be powerful enough to even dispel the curse of the Chained Veil, restoring the hunter to his former glory. Dead Zone. The former location of the Citadel where the Tolgath, a group of ancient planeswalkers, resided, the Dead Zone was the epicenter of the destruction that washed over Ulgrotha when Ravi rang the apocalypse chime during an attempt to end the Wizard War. The Dead Zone is so named because it is a chunk of Ulgrotha that contains no mana of any kind, and without mana, life cannot exist. Any who enter the Dead Zone have their life force sucked out of them by the very landscape until they perish. Epicure. Initially a small town by the name of Darien's Roost, this town was notable ages ago as the first Kjeldoran settlement in the Carplusian Mountains, and it served as a trading hub between Kjeldor and Balduvia. The Epicure gained its current notoriety after 40 years of Shaelton occupation, when the wizard Thabit summoned Serra angels to help liberate the people. Afterwards, a colossal, angelic cathedral dedicated to Serra was carved out of the nearest mountain face, and it's remained an impressive sight in the region ever since. Four Eyes. The Domains is a rather poorly defined region of Dominaria, but it is generally accepted that it includes the continent of Arona, as well as the nearby archipelago and several islands. Four Eyes is an otherwise unremarkable island in this region, standing out not because of any unique geology or resource, but rather because it is the only place on Dominaria known to be home to a species of two-headed giants. Ghost fire. There are many different kinds of flame throughout the multiverse, but the ghost fire, Ugin's breath, may be the most unique. Ghost fire is invisible to the naked eye and transcends the colors of mana. Ugin used this special flame to combat the Eldrazi, and the monks of the Jeskai Way from Tarkir strived to learn how to utilize it. And though she rarely displays it, Chandra Nalaar is also capable of using this fire, wielding it when she battled against Sarkhan Vol and accidentally freeing the Eldrazi. Halo. Produced by the Angels of New Capenna, Halo is an iridescent substance that enhances physical and magical abilities, healed injuries, and could even stave off the effects of Phyrexia's glistening oil. In the distant past, the demon lords of New Capenna fought alongside the angels, but eventually betrayed them, placing them into stasis. A steady, though finite, supply of Halo has been flowing through the city ever since, with the various crime families fighting for control over such a wonderful resource. Iquitana. Iquitana is a plane we know relatively little about. At some point, Jace Beleren paid this world a visit and learned of its people, the Iquati, a species that possessed a genetic memory. Unfortunately, their genetic memories have degraded over the ages, and in recent times, the Iquati have turned to creating the narcomoebas to serve as living storehouses of information, supplementing what they've lost. Jaraga Nation. The Jaraga Nation is a group of loosely affiliated elf tribes located in the Tangled Vale, a region of Balaged on Zendikar. The Jaraga tribes were one of the most reclusive, shunning outsiders, even other elves. Each tribe followed the migratory patterns of a different beast, building their culture around the creature, even fashioning magic based on it. In the modern day, the Jaraga are nearly extinct, having suffered great losses at the hands of the Eldrazi, though Nissa Vane is a notable survivor of these tribes. Caracas. In the ancient past of Dominaria, this city, located on the southern part of Jamora, had become legendary as a destination for adventurers and treasure seekers alike. Caracas was one of the safest cities on Dominaria under the rule of Angus Mackenzie, whose policies of peace would practically put an end to all fighting within the city limits. Unfortunately, this era of tranquility would come to an end when Mackenzie was slain by the powerful demon, Lady Orca. Loxodon. While the origins of the humanoid elephants is not known, Loxodons are a race found throughout the multiverse, on worlds like Ravnica, Arcavios, and even Tarkir. Loxodons are mighty, yet often peace-loving souls, and tend to lean into the white-green pairing on the color pie. A notable exception to this is the only known Loxodon planeswalker, Quintorius Khan, who is primarily white-red. Mana Blade. One of the most insidious weapons ever seen in the multiverse was the Mana Blade. Especially dangerous to mages, these daggers sliced not only flesh, but through one's bond to mana itself, causing excruciating pain. Composed of, at least partially, Ethereum, Mana Blades are only known to have been crafted by the Church of the Incarnate Soul, and are exceedingly rare, with only 2 having been seen in the entire Magic story. Night Stalker. The Dominarian creatures known as Night Stalkers are found wherever black mana is abundant, most prominently in regions like Urborg and Kalamon. These silent, humanoid creatures are malevolent, yet are often the minions of a greater evil. The Dakmor sorceress Tojira famously utilized them in her war against Alaborn, and a group of Night Stalkers known as Breath Stealers were the only creatures that knew how to summon the spirit of the night. Ornithopter. Across every plane, mankind has dreamed of flying through the skies, and across these worlds, throughout history, artificers have made that dream a reality. Despite their variety of intricate designs, ornithopters are among the simplest artifacts to construct and are often the first step artificers take in their craft. Across the worlds, ornithopters have been invented, forgotten, and rediscovered, perpetuating the eternal dream of flight. Pool of Knowledge. On Mirrodin, drinking the mysterious Blinkmoth serum causes one to expand their consciousness, gaining deeper insight and understanding. This substance, thanks to aggressive harvesting by the Vedalken, has become quite scarce on the world, with few knowing how to acquire it. The Pool of Knowledge was a vast vat of this serum, stored at Lumengrid, which the Vedalken used to enhance their species and further their own evolution. With the Phyrexian domination of the plane, it's possible that this pool is now lost. Quirion. After the devastation the Brothers' War caused to Tarizier, many Elvish refugees abandoned the continent, traveling to Corondor and there, in the White Woods, established the Quirion Sovereign. Over the centuries since, the Quirion nation has remained largely isolationist and fiercely protective of its territory, though they have worked with outsiders on occasion, such as Jared Carthelion or the diplomat Mangara. Reaper King. When the Great Aurora washes over Lorwyn, it is transformed into the dark and gloomy world of Shadowmoor. One of the side effects of this magical shift is the animation of seemingly every scarecrow on the plane. Initially created by Kithkins to help with farming or to ward off threats, these scarecrows now wander the land, pursuing some unknown goal. And the greatest of these animated constructs, as well as the most mysterious, is their leader, the Hidden Reaper King. School of the Unseen. There have been many schools of magic throughout the history of Dominaria, and all have had a part to play in shaping that history. The Latnam School of the Unseen was formed during the Ice Age as a successor institution to the City of Shadows. Just like the City of Shadows, the School of the Unseen focused on secrecy to allow its magical research to progress unhindered. The school was led by Joda for a time, though it was ultimately destroyed by the machinations of the necromancer Limdul. Tallroom Mountains. The continent of Jamora was once home to this harsh mountain range, and it in turn was home to a tribe of isolationistic, proud warrior minotaurs, most notably the Weatherlight member Tongarth. During the Phyrexian invasion, a decent portion of these mountains were lost when Teferi phased out Zalfir to keep it safe. Now that Zalfir is its own plane, after the invasion of New Phyrexia, that portion of the mountains has returned to the multiverse, presumably alongside its Minotaur population. Undercity. Over the millennia, as the city of Ravnica grew, its foundation and oldest buildings became buried under layers of construction and expansion. This is the Undercity, a network of vast chambers and ancient streets illuminated only by a dim glow that occasionally trickles in from above. Several guilds make use of this place. The Golgari and the Dimir in particular call the Undercity home and conduct many of their activities in the gloom of these long-forgotten streets. Velis Vel. One of the most mysterious and secret locations on the plane of Lorwyn is the Crystal Cavern of Velis Vel, the home of the plane's changelings. Runes appear throughout the cave, each one commemorating a new form taken by one of the changelings. Once each year, tiny rays of the sun peer through the cracks in the cave's ceiling just right, illuminating the cavern with glittering light. When this occurs, the plane's changelings in their natural forms congregate here for what is presumably their mating season. World Spell. The harsh ice age of Dominaria would have gone on forever if unchecked, but there were those who remembered a time before the cold and wished to free Dominaria from its grip. The planeswalker Frialis, alongside individuals such as Joda, Jaya Ballard, and Kesa, conducted a ritual harnessing the energy of the rogue plane of Shandalar to at long last end the Ice Age, start the thaw, and begin the process of returning Dominaria to how it used to be. Xerax. Of the near-infinite planes found dotted throughout the multiverse, Xerax is perhaps the strangest. Featuring bizarre geometry that defies logic and a populace that lives in non-Euclidean space, Xerax possesses a unique advantage when Phyrexia targeted it for invasion. As Phyrexians possess minds that think quite literally, they were confounded by Xerax's strange reality and utterly repelled. Yargol. After the demon lord Belzenlock took command of the Cabal, he ruled the organization with an iron fist. One of the demon's lieutenants, a man named Yarkul, grew a bit too ambitious, and so was turned into a maggot. This maggot was eaten by a frog, and that frog, in turn, grew into the monstrous Yargle. Yargle is a simple, gluttonous creature, attacking and consuming anything that comes its way, whether that be swamp creatures, the Weatherlight skyship, or even Phyrexian invaders. Zubera. On the plane of Kamigawa, all things that exist possess a spirit, a kami, that personifies them. Manifesting in the spirit world, these kami take on a diversity of forms, but even with their variety, many can be grouped together as one type. When a mortal is pulled unwillingly into the spirit world, a special type of faceless kami called a Zubera is created. These kami stalk the human world, attacking lone travelers in an attempt to steal their faces.